Well, a very good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you might be in the world. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back, as the case may be. If you're new to the channel, you won't know. I am Anna, and of course, I'm the content creator here, and it's my voice that you're listening to. I'm not into AI. I'm very much into appreciating and valuing what many people call human flaws. So if you hear me humming and hoeing and maybe smacking my lips together or doing something that some people might consider to be unattractive or even irritating, I say so be it. I would rather be natural. Anyway, for those of you that aren't aware, I usually load the Sunday yarning videos at about 5:30 p.m. on the Sunday here in Perth, Western Australia, which is where I live. This week and last week, I'm actually running behind schedule. There's a few reasons for that. Few reasons that I'm okay about. I'm sorry to disappoint people if they were actually waiting, but sometimes I think it is what it is. Before I get into today's video, though, if you are new to the channel, these Sunday videos are basically just updating people of what's been going on and what is happening with the channel and my website and things like that. Sometimes I will give you tips on information that I've managed to pick up along the way, because I think it might be helpful. You know, usually what I've found when I've been certainly teaching and leading groups is that often if one person is undergoing a certain experience, there's more than that one person. And in fact, I actually got feedback. I've gone straight down the rabbit warren here. I've actually had feedback when I used to do them in a public setting, just on Facebook, just gifting readings as part of teaching and developing and supporting people to access their gifts. And what I got was that a lot of people actually like to read the messages, because these were typewritten ones that were answers to other people's queries, because they always managed to gain something. I think it was because I used to give healing tips and strategies to people in the course of giving a reading. I still do, by the way. Anyway, I've gone down that rabbit warren. So just back to the focus of the welcome, which is, if you're new to the channel, just be aware, going down that rabbit warren and diverting from my original intention is quite common across all of my videos. So because they can be lengthy, what I do is I pop timing stamps in the description of the videos, and that allows you ease of access. If you are new, you will also probably not be aware until I tell you. First of all, please, come back and say good day to me. Feel free to leave your comments, thoughts, and experiences, because it's all part of uniting, and we all, it's just nice is where I'm going. What else can I say? If you are new to the channel as well, I always like to start the Sunday yarning videos with some form of acknowledgement of a blessing. And I'll get onto that in a moment, because I just remembered that I always forget to say too, if you like any of the content, if you find any of the content on my videos to be beneficial or useful, please do consider giving me a thumbs up. I would truly appreciate it, because it helps to keep me motivated. So anyway, the blessing stuff, the more gratitude we have, the more blessings enter into our aura. It becomes magnetic, and we just end up with so much more to be thankful for. So actually, I just changed the order of the slides as I was recording them. This is to do with gratitude as well, but it's also a bit fun. And background here is that I've met Pearl. Pearl is a lovely lady. She is from Hong Kong. Her English, she's able to read English very well, apparently, but she does struggle with the verbal articulation and understanding words. Of course, once you put the Australian accent in, if people aren't familiar with it, that can throw people off as well. But anyway, this is just a little bit of fun. Okay, so Pearl's from Hong Kong. Where I'm concerned, I think it's hilarious, actually. She has decided, she told me, she came round to my house and she mentioned to me that I'm just like her aunt, apparently. Her aunt is a similar type psychic messenger, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not really comfortable with those terms, but gets messages through that she gives to people. And when she saw me, she said, this is socially, not at the gatherings. She said to me, "Oh, you're just like my auntie." And so Pearl came over. We're doing a coffee one day, not that long ago, actually, this week. And her aunt phoned up. So they were doing like the FaceTime thing. Anyway, long story short, what has become fun out of it is that while her auntie, Po, and I don't have a common language, we've actually decided to do an activity where we bring through messages for each other as best we can. And Pearl is going to act as the communicator, bringing information back and forth, because we've both decided that actually, even though we don't have a common language, we have a real interest in the way each of us approaches our spirituality and our guided mediumship. Now, I understand too that with Poe so far, as I said, she's from, she lives in Hong Kong, and her first language is Cantonese, and she doesn't speak any other ones. I understand she also works with guardians and guides, but we haven't really started this activity yet. It's just something that I think I'll really enjoy. It's part of that personal and spiritual development. So when it comes to blessings, really they're just actually really nice. It can be anything, and it can be very small, and for different people it's different things. If you've noted a blessing, actually a gratitude journal, there you go, another diversion. A gratitude journal is absolutely wonderful if you're trying to bring more gratitude into your life. But getting back to what I'm grateful for this week, amongst the many blessings I feel that I receive, has actually been the wattle bird. If you've watched my other videos, you'll know that I have a big tree, and I'm blessed to have a garden, and I'm blessed to have native birds fly in, and I regularly acknowledge them because I love birds for the fact that they actually do convey messages, and they do have personalities. So this week what I had was one of these little birds, the one in my yard. We call it yards here in Australia. Sorry, I just realised if I say yard, people will potentially think that it's a concrete with vehicles lying around. No, in Australia, we do say garden as well, but quite often we'll say the front or the backyard, and it's not a yard the way other people look at it. But anyway, in my garden, I quite often get the native flora, not the native flora, the native birds fly in and out, and the butterflies. It's a real blessing. What I do is I tend to go and Google the messages, and in this instance, this little fella, the one that came into my yard, actually had a brighter yellow stomach, but he definitely was a wattle bird. I think this image that we've got here, and I've got the credit for, I gathered the photo from Wikipedia, as you can see, but I think that might be a juvenile, just a teenager, perhaps wattlebird, because the one that I had was full grown and, as I say, with more of the yellow stomach. So anyway, what I do is these birds come in, and quite often I actually know the message straight away. Sometimes, like when the wattlebird has come in, I've gone and Googled what it is, and it was quite interesting. And I think rather than, because they do bring, all animals bring different wisdom, and you can interpret a lot of it based on their behaviour. But anyway, going back to the wattlebird and the messages from that is, it talks about speaking your truth, that we stand up and we speak our truth when the situation arises. But it says that there's a duality, which of course this is so normal, that speaking the truth will either set a person free or will imprison them. And I find that to be very relatable. So I feel that the wattlebird is actually a messenger for me, as opposed to or a healing messenger in this instance. You'll understand this when I start talking about the reflection, because this has been a deeply reflective week for me as far as healing and energy goes. But anyway, so the message is that speak your voice, speak your truth, know that it'll set you free, or that it may imprison you. And the other thing is that the wattlebird apparently can be quite aggressive when it feels that its personal space has been invaded, which is actually highly hilarious, I think, in relation to me. I do enjoy my personal space. I'm not aggressive. I don't go out there and swoop the neighbours as they walk past, or try and attack their cats and dogs if they enter the garden or anything like that. I'm not that aggressive, but I certainly have become very territorial over the years about my past, about my personal environment. And this is indirectly talking about boundary issues. Sometimes our boundaries are so high that we actually don't let people access that inner self. We just are very guarded, and we keep people out of the zone, which means that we've got a very small social circle. It's quite true, actually, for me. Okay, I do keep my social circle very small, and while I'm quite happy to interact with people, um, at certain times. Actually, I'm not going to go into that too much, but yeah, let's just say I've become very guarded with my personal space, and that could be, I perceive that reference of the wattle bird to, speaking your truth can imprison you, to being that self-imprisonment of, if you speak the truth. We live in a world where so many people want to have their illusions and delusions reinforced. So when we speak the truth, it's perceived to be confrontational by some people who can become particularly aggressive. So this is one of the reasons for me, I keep my circle small. And yes, I do speak my truth. I'm not going to lie and deny the truth, but it can create problems for me at times. So there's the recognition of that. And where I'm going with this is from a space of reflection. We're going to look at that slide in a moment, which is the reflection, because of the healing. Yeah, it's, I think, just saying to me, look, either, but perhaps to lower my boundaries a little bit and to be more vocal and more comfortable about speaking my truth, because otherwise it's wisdom wasted. Actually, there was a bit I skipped over, which is the wattle bird also represents shamanism. So depending on how you define shamanism, it basically, there is wisdom associated with it. It's the magic, it's the strategy, it's empowering in different ways is just how I would define it. And I do have a lot of information because I'm not a spring chicken anymore, but I don't actually be on the YouTube channel. I don't actually get out there and share it with people anymore because I've kept that personal space so small. So I might have to start looking at doing some workshops in the near future and just get over my barriers, shall we say. Raise those, or drop the boundaries is a better way of describing it. So this week, upon reflection, I have had a lot of them. And a lot of them, so this is where, when we reflect and we're looking at different experiences and doing healing and working with crystals, this is kind of all tied together. So I have, if you watched the other videos, I received my Midnight Lace Obsidian, and this is actually the piece that I bought. It's not a photograph taken by me, but that's exactly what mine looks like. That was my purchase. So I decided to start working with it this week. And what I recognised and realised was that I was on a emotional roller coaster, and this is that series of ups and downs, revisiting past experiences, which is very typical of the experience for people using blue lace obsidian. Now, one of the reasons, if you've watched any of the videos or seen any of the comments coming up, when I loaded the black obsidian video, there was a comment, and Ilian is the person's name. Now, I apologise, Ilian. I don't know if you're male or female. I'm going to refer to you as a he because the information that you provide is very practical, logical, and what I would call masculine type information that you provide to me. But either way, Ilian had said that clear midnight lace is very strong, it works very rapidly, that it's high vibrational, and he actually made the recommendation that I use it with a crystal that has a softening capacity. So perhaps like kyanite or selenite would have been a good way to use it as part of softening this process of healing that we get through using the crystal. Anyway, me being who I am, I didn't actually listen particularly to that, and I just either forgot or took the attitude that I quite often do as, she'll be right. I've been doing a lot of work over the years. It can't be that big a deal for me to actually work with Midnight Lace Obsidian now, whereas in the past I probably definitely would have taken that information on board. Either way, where I'm going with this is I actually didn't for this. I've been working directly with the Midnight Lace Obsidian, and where Ilian also recommended that you wear it on the person, for me, I thought, no, I'm just going to keep it beside the desk or beside my workspace where I work, so that I can have that ambient healing energy, because I know it's supposed to be a very strong crystal. And because I've seen other people react to the black obsidian, and I know that it can be quite emotionally traumatic. Anyway, where I'm going with this is, I really feel that it took me to a very deep healing, clearing, cleansing place, and to the point where I felt that I lost my direction, my purpose, started to question everything. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because if you do decide to work with some of these crystals and you've got a lot of trauma and stuff in your system, that cleansing process is one where I've likened it into the past that it kind of happens over a 3-day period. For a couple of days there, you kind of bottom out, you sink to rock bottom. And for me, I would say, and this is atypical of the healing processes that I've observed for people, that it's on the 3rd day that it's like a resurrection. You get back to who you are. But the day before, which is the 2nd day, is usually the most emotionally heavy day, shall we say, when you're going through a deep cleanse and transition. Now, at the time I did the transcript for this, I thought, I'm on the way back up. Well, I am. I've managed to get through a lot of that bog, but I've had a new realization occur with Midnight Lace Obsidian, that part of this process for me, and I'm going to update my notes because Midnight Lace Obsidian is yet to be published, the video that I'm making, but I'm going to add to that I actually believe that what Midnight Lace Obsidian does is actually take a person on a life review, because that has been my experience of working with it through this healing and release process. Now, what do I mean by life review? So I haven't done a transcript for this slide, so I'm just going to hum and ha my way through it. So there may be things that I forget to mention through this. Okay, for a life review, what it is, it's revisiting what's happened in this current life and being able to unpack it, unpack it, process it, put things into perspective. For most people, you will have heard through the death and dying stage, they do that whole, and my life flashed before my eyes, and they see the good things, they see the sad things, they see the bad things, they see the things that upset them previously, and they let go of pain and anger and that kind of thing. So a life review is something that we have obviously at the end of days for our physical body. And many years ago, I learned about a life review, that it's actually better to do them on a regular basis, because while we've got a body, we're going through experiences all the time that cause emotional responses and reactions, and life is full of challenges. So not all of those emotional experiences feel really great and positive when we're going through them. So basically my teacher, well, we're going back a few decades now, had said try and do a life review on a regular basis through meditation, which helps you to find peace within situations pretty close to the time that they occur, And when we're doing a life review, we actually recognize that emotionally we get to see and understand how our behaviors have impacted on other people, whether it's caused them suffering. It gives us an opportunity to go back to say sorry to that person, or to try and heal and mend any rifts that we may have caused ourselves. But the other side of the thing is for people, say, that have had trauma, it offers an opportunity to really get into those deep, painful areas and to find peace within. Now, where I'm going with this is, I say thank God that I have been doing life reviews on a fairly regular basis over the years. But what I will say is that I'm aware of this morning because I think because I put out to the universe that the healing properties of Midnight Lace go gently with me. I thought that was what I put out there, be gentle with me. So it's probably going over or occurring over a longer space of time, because I've woken this morning with memories yet again of even 30 years ago, of events that were really quite painful and traumatic to live through. And what I would say is, yes, there's definitely a healing occurring there. So this would be, even though I've done life review work before, there is still that residual stuff that stays there, and you've got to keep clearing it until it doesn't cause, this is my understanding anyway, until you can just observe that situation and not have an emotional reaction to it. So anyway, where I'm going with this is that I feel the process is ongoing at the moment, that I'm still seeing the past events. I no longer have the big, large, angry reactions from an emotional perspective to some of this, what I call unnecessary pain that has been inflicted, obviously, by other people. Where I'm going with this is there is a sense of sadness to it now, because I think a lot of my experiences would be shared by other people, that when we become victims of somebody else's malice, or when stuff happens to us that is really unpleasant and we didn't feel that we deserved it, or that the people that we love deserved the pain that was inflicted on them, it does, I think I've just wandered off down a pathway. It does cause a reaction to us. At this point in time, though, I would say that I'm at the seeing, observing, and still feeling a little bit of sadness about stuff, sadness that, this didn't need to happen. That's the human reaction. But then at a higher level, because I understand and believe in the divine plan and the divine pathway, I recognize actually this did need to happen, because this is one of those scenarios where the world doesn't revolve around me, it doesn't revolve around you. It's everything. When we're working with or living our lives, there's always other people involved, and everybody's got to have their own experience. Everybody's got their own divine plan. Each individual has got free will, of course, but at the same time, there are things that are set in concrete for them as far as learning experiences for the evolution of their soul. And so this is probably the key message, is that you can control your own emotional reactions once you learn emotional self-mastery, and I think that's an ongoing lesson for me. But the other thing is that you actually can't control the people in your environment, and you're lucky if you can even control your environment at different times. So it really becomes a case of, with the life review, putting things into perspective, learning what to let go of and what to hold on to, because at the end of the day, through that life review, it's not all about pain. There's joy as well. So there's beauty within that. So anyway, yeah, just sharing that with you. If you want to talk about life reviews, maybe I could do a video on it at some point. But please let me know your experiences. I'm open to hearing other people's learnings, what they've been told, and how they approach the life review. So moving on, talking about community, expanding the social circle and dropping the boundaries a little bit, blah, 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 which is the pathway my life seems to be taking at the moment. Just another update. When we do the community gathering, the upcoming one, which I think is on September the 10th, you can certainly buy your ticket, not buy because they're free anyway, book your ticket. I'll put the link in the description. I'm just stumbling over my words, no transcript here anyway. But I've just had confirmation via email. A lady had approached me. She was offering to give free readings to people at this social event. And my first thoughts were, I contacted her, and I understand where she's coming from. She's a little bit like me, from what I can gather, that she let her gifts and skills, basically she hasn't been using them. So of course the idea is, and this works for me as well, is when you don't use your gifts, you sit there and start thinking about the fact that it's use it or lose it. So what she wants to do is basically get a toe out there, start re-experiencing, practicing giving the gifts of tarot readings as well. She's also a healer, by the way. She does shadow work. But anyway, she will be attending, and I'm going to set her up at a table for those people that would like to connect with her. So just bear that in mind. Her name is Sam. So the website development is ongoing. I haven't put a huge amount of time into it at the moment. You will see some changes where I did publish and I updated the content. And actually, I can't remember, because I did update the aura content as well this week, but I don't know if I published it and you can see it. But it's just some aura protection techniques and strategies. But at the end of the day, where I'm going with this is there is content that I'm currently working on, which is not visible at the moment. If you go to the website, I've still got to publish it, but I'm still doing a lot of work on it, shall we say. It'll be ready, hopefully. Gosh, I hope I can really focus and get it done this week, the chakra content at least. So the intention with the revamps is that basically there'll be a page or some kind of section there that talks about spiritual hygiene, with the buttons to activities that you can do as part of maintaining that, explaining what it is and that kind of thing. Centering and grounding, I actually really haven't started working on that yet. This is one of those things where you start doing a task and then you realize that you've got priorities that you need to address before you go on to it. So when we talk about centering and grounding, I actually need to have my aura content and my chakra content completed before I can link the centering and grounding to that. I think I've done the sacred breath one. I'm not sure. But either way, these are all what I consider to be priority pages for the website that I'm currently working on and getting closer and closer to completion. So as far as the crystal magic content goes, or update, usually on this slide I tell people the purchases that I've made or what I'm looking at. Well, this week I haven't done any purchasing. I have been scoping the costs of blue lace agate, and that's because I want to work with it again. And also because I know that I will be promoting it because I just actually love that crystal. But what I will say is, in my observations, I've seen variations of like $250 a kilo. So I definitely am really looking at that. And in fact, actually, this time round when I buy, I would actually rather buy a really big crystal ball. But the price of that is probably going to be outside of my budget. So if I'm on track with things and keeping up with my own activities, which I feel a little bit off track at the moment, Goldstone, you should have seen that go up this month, this week, and be aware of the properties and the associations there. The blue lace agate video has gone up, and it's on there. You will actually see comments between me and Ilya about Midnight Lace, because he made a comment, or she made a comment, about blue lace obsidian, blue lace agate. I'm trying to remember now. Obviously, I'm a little ungrounded and distracted. But either way, we both talked about Midnight Lace Obsidian in the comments of this. I would actually say, though, upon reflection, this is one of the best and most powerful crystals that I have ever worked and used with. I've mentioned through the reflective process of the energy of Midnight Lace Obsidian and the life review, that there's some very painful experiences in my past, or historically there has been. And what I have recognized through the reflection is that, they were horrendous, really emotionally traumatic times, but I was always wearing the blue lace agate. And so from that position of or that perspective of looking back at life, I can now look at that and see that, oh my gosh, gee, yes, they were really, really difficult times, but I was able to retain my sense of composure, my peace, felt safe, despite obviously being in extremely unsafe environments at time. I was able to keep all of it together. And not only was I able to keep together, it was at this time I was actually experiencing the most incredible miracles that anybody could go through. You know what I mean? The lower the lows, the higher the highs, all of that kind of thing. And I'm talking about spiritual and energy. And the blessing there, excuse me while I cough, was that a lot of those incredibly miraculous experiences of energy and higher beings and that kind of stuff were witnessed and observed by other people. I always had somebody else, well, I shouldn't say always, quite often there was somebody else in the peripherals that was there to back up through an observation experience, say, of miracles. I'm trying to think how to explain this. I must admit that I did put out to the universe around about that time that I wanted to be shown in convincing ways at a conscious level, basically the proof that these things were happening, because otherwise I would doubt myself and think that I was going insane. And so quite often, if you ask and you're grateful for it, the universe complies. So there was a lot of miracles that occurred with somebody on the peripherals that was able to turn around and say to me, oh my goodness, did you see that? Did you feel that? Did you hear that? That kind of thing. And it was like, well, I saw this, what did you see? So much of my journey has been shared with others. So, speaking of the Midnight Lace Obsidian, you can expect to see that one loaded and published on Tuesday. That's the plan. I've still got it, well, actually, which is tomorrow as I'm recording this. I'm recording this on Monday morning. It'll be Sunday somewhere in the world. But anyway, this will be loaded tomorrow. I've just got to do the audio on it, and then you will all know what I'm talking about. Now, Phenacite is an interesting one. Some people spell Phenacite with a K, some pronounce it Phenakite as well. For me, I've always known it as Phenacite, and so that's what I call it. So if you don't call it Phenacite, you call it Phenakite, we'll just go, yeah, different strokes for different folks. Anyway, this is an incredible crystal that I also have had some experience with, and the video on it, the Phenacite video, that's scheduled for this Thursday. Once again, this is a crystal that's not cheap. It's very, very powerful, and you don't need to have a big piece to experience its attributes, is where I'm going with this. So, my friends, that is that for me with Sunday's updates, which are happening on a Monday. For now, I would like to say, look, thank you very much for being part of my journey. If you made it this far, well done, go you. Feel free to leave a comment. Hope that I catch you on the next video. If there's a crystal or something else that you would like me to put information up on, do feel free to leave a comment, ask me. You can even go to my website and send me through a message on the contact form if you like. Anyway, until next time, take care. Love you. Bye-bye for now.